Blog Talk Radio.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Women of Golf Show. I'm Ted Odorico, and joining me is LPGA professional Cindy Miller, and we are your hosts. We're broadcasting live every Tuesday morning from 9 to 10 a.m. Eastern here on the blogtalkradio.com network, bringing you some of the best golfers, teaching professionals, and entrepreneurs helping to elevate women's golf. We're so glad you decided to join us this morning, so grab your coffee and let's get started. All right, good morning, and thank you, everybody, for joining me this morning here on the Women of Golf Show. Cindy Miller, of course, is off the next couple of weeks, spinning some more plates, as she always likes to refer to it, with some other things she's got scheduled. But she'll be joining me back here in a few weeks to co-host here on the Women of Golf Show. But very, very excited. For those of you that tuned in last week, again, our apologies. There was a little bit of a miscommunication, and unfortunately our guests didn't get proper notification to come on the show, but they're willing to come on this week and very graciously clearing their schedules to do so. So we appreciate that very, very much. Just a couple of quick notes as well. I also had mentioned last week that Mike Nichols, the Chief Business Officer, was going to be on this week, but we've moved him to next week. So he'll be joining me at the top of the show next Tuesday here on the Women of Golf. Again, he very graciously adjusted his schedule so that we could get the guests from last week on this week. So we appreciate it very much, and thank you, Mike. All right, so as I mentioned, we've got two young ladies coming on. First up is Julieta Granada. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about her, and then I'm going to bring her on the show here. She's 32 and a native of Asuncion, Paraguay. She was the 2004 U.S. Girls Junior Championship winner and Athlete of the Year in her home country. She was also named the 2004 American Junior Golf Association Rolex Player of the Year, and she actually was out on the LPGA Tour back a number of years ago. She earned her card in 2006, and a very interesting notable, she set at that time an LPGA Tour record for the most money earned by a rookie when she took home over $1.6 million in 2006, which of course later was that record was broken by Lydia Ko in 2014, who earned just over $2 million. So obviously did very, very well at the LPGA. At some point, obviously had to go back to the Symetra Tour this past season. She made 19 starts on the Symetra Tour in 2019, capturing 14 top 20s and a season-best runner-up result at the Murphy USA Eldorado Shootout, which put her in the number 6 spot for the Volvic Race for the Card, earning her LPGA Tour card back out again. So let me welcome her to the show. Julieta, welcome to the Women of Golf Show.
Good morning, Ted. Thanks for having me, and sorry about last week.
That's all right. We're going to blame Zach. Zach is the communications officer for the Symetra Tour, so we'll throw the blame on him. It was his responsibility. Now I'm just teasing. But thank you very much, Julieta. I know it's not always easy sometimes to juggle schedules, and that I appreciate very much you coming on this morning in lieu of last week. All right, so let me first and foremost let me talk about the 2019 season. We're going to talk about your time on the LPGA a little bit in the past, but and then obviously gearing up for a new season there. Give us an overall assessment of your 2019 season back on the Symetra Tour. Talk a little bit about some of the ups and downs and some of the difficult times a little bit, and what areas, if any, did you struggle with a little bit of your game, and what areas really helped pull through?
Yeah, 2019, in terms of golf terms, was, a great year for me. I had a little bit of a rough 16 and 17, and 18 I played pretty well. I reshuffled up on the LPGA, and I played mostly out there, and just kept missing cuts by one or two shots. But I felt like my game was, close to, being, I guess, back in the day, Julie's game. And in 2019, I started the season thinking that my plan was to obviously do money qualifiers on the LPGA and then reshuffled up. But in the meantime, I played a couple Symetra events, and I my game showed up with me. I finished second my first week out, lost in the playoff, and I finished second my second week out. I lost by one, and I finished 11th my third week and finished second. I lost in another playoff my fourth week out. And, by that time, the decision was made that I had, that I was committed to staying and playing full time on the Symetra Tour and, earning my car back that way. It wasn't an easy decision. I've been obviously on the LPGA for a long time, and,
Right.
it was humbling, and I had to, kind of humble myself and my game and go out there and make birdies and, just play some golf and, build my confidence and keep believing in my game and keep improving my game. So, I mean, for me, like personally, like 19 was a really, really good year. I made some huge progress in terms of ball striking and putting. And, I had some good results to follow that up. I really enjoyed my time on Symetra. I went out there with the mentality that, I had to bring my game week in and week out and perform and, finish as many top 10s, top 20s as I could. And I did that. So, I'm grateful for the opportunity to, still have a tour to play in and, kind of earning my way back to the LPGA.
Was there, well done. Was there a point, we're going to get to the LPGA here in just a second, but last season that you felt, okay, things are starting to come back into line, even though I know you didn't actually have an official win this past season, you came close, as you mentioned, a number of times, and you really played some solid golf. Was there a point you said, okay, now I'm ready?
Yeah, I think especially the last 5 weeks out on Symetra, I think I had 4 top 10s the last 5 weeks, and I was going through some things, personal and, just I was not like, I guess I was not in the best state of mind, and I still went out there and, got some results and performed. My game was showing up each day, and I found that kind of like that mental clarity to just, put all the stuff that was going on in my outside of golf life, on a side and just go out to the golf course and perform. And I really hadn't felt like that in a really long time, probably since, junior golf and maybe my rookie year on the LPGA, kind of that extra gear mentally. And,
right.
So I had a lot of fun the last 5 weeks because I'm like, wow, I think I know how to get that extra gear mentally when I'm locked in and I'm ready to perform and, I'm trusting my game and I'm doing, I'm actually following through on the plan that I have in mind, which is, great. So yeah,
Right.
I really just enjoyed being out there and enjoyed like performing and enjoy like just, showing up to the golf course and saying, it's just me, this is my game. And, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to own it. I'm going to do the best I can.
Yeah, and that's really all you can ask for. I want to just very quickly pick up on something that you mentioned just a moment ago, and then I promise we'll get on about your comeback to the LPGA. You talked about that mentally, these last several weeks in the season, that mentally you weren't quite there, but your game was still, spot on. What do you do in a case like that when you go out there and just for whatever reason, and we don't need to get into it, but, something maybe going on at home or something going on in your life that sort of takes your mind out of the game, but yet you still got to get out there and get the job done. What do you do? How do you flick that switch to say, okay, you know what? I'm having a tough time right now personally, but I got to get out there and get the job done. What do you say to yourself?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, it was it was kind of like a figure it out as you go moment. It's a situation where you're like, I'm hoping I'm strong enough to handle all of this. At the same time, the end of the season was coming up, and I knew that I still wasn't locked in, and in terms of guaranteeing my card, and I had these things to deal with when I was outside the golf course, and it was just like figure it out as you go and see if I can actually show up. And it was sort of like I took it like a challenge, like a personal challenge. Every time
right.
I showed up to the course, I'm like, this is this is what I do. This is me, and all these other stuff can wait. I'm here, and I'm gonna just be here for 5 hours and just gonna play my game, and I'm gonna play my game, but I'm gonna play my game for me. I'm gonna play my game because this is what I want to do, and this is what I like to do, and this is what I'm here to do, and but I don't know. It was just like I kind of just learned a lot about myself as that went on. To be honest, in the moment I was like, I'm not sure that I'm strong enough to handle all of this. But I surprised myself, and I showed myself that I was and I am, and I can handle that stuff, and I can still perform and be mentally locked in, and I obviously listened to some good stuff mentally to help me get to that place. But it was interesting. I kept just after each week, I just kept laughing. I'm like, I can't believe I have another top 10.
Well, sometimes things happen when you least expect it. One of the things that we talked about with a number of the young ladies this past season, of course, as you are aware, we interviewed a lot of the winners from this season off the Symetra Tour each week. And what was really interesting is there were quite a few of them. Some of them were multiple winners, so they've been down that road before, but there were quite a few of them that, it was their first time win. And what was the sort of the resounding tone, if you will, with all of them is that, they obviously, and I'm sure you can relate to, had ups and downs throughout, maybe the last season or last several years out on tour, and really kind of got into a bit of a funk. And finally, they just said to themselves, you know what, I'm going to be out here for me. I just want to have fun. I want to enjoy the experience and not get so caught up in all of the, the hoopla week in, week out, and put undue pressure. And interestingly enough, within a week or so of sort of making that mental transition, they ended up getting their first tour win. So, there's a lot to what you said a moment ago about really fun, doing this for yourself and not doing it for outside influences or what have you. So that's some very sound words that I hope our amateurs that are tuning into the show this morning take to heed, because I think sometimes, we put a lot of pressure on ourselves to perform, to do things, and we forget to have some fun along the way. So some great insight on your part. All right, so let's jump onto the LPGA Tour. As I mentioned, you earned your tour card, back in 2006. Had a phenomenal rookie year, obviously earning over $1.6 million, as I mentioned. But somewhere along the way, you had to come back to the Symetra Tour to kind of regroup, if you will, here this past season. And now you're heading back out in 2020 to the LPGA. What have you learned this season particularly that you think is going to help you this time out on tour?
Well, I think then the first thing that comes to my mind is obviously that, kind of that extra gear mentally that I was talking about. I want to make sure that, I kind of, what do you mean? Like reach out to that constantly when I'm back out there, and remind myself that, it's a game. You got to have fun, but also like when we're out there for a reason, and we're out there to trust our game and to do the best we can with our game. We're not out there to doubt and put all this external pressure and, kind of make things a little bit more, kind of funky. We're trying to play the best we can, and
right.
and the only way that we can do that is by actually being mentally locked in and kind of reaching that extra gear. Some days, we don't hit it the best, and some days we don't putt the best, and some days our body doesn't feel the best. But if mentally we can figure out a way to, be at the either 90% or 100% every time we play, we're gonna have some good results. And I showed myself that my game is good enough that I can handle a lot of things. It's not, like I said, it's not easy going back to Symetra, and I don't know if a lot of players will be able to do what I just did, after 3 years of not having a full card, earning my way back out there. And, I'm proud of that. And I should take that as a positive, and kind of like build that up on myself, and keep, believing in my game and in my mental strength, and in what I'm doing, in the people that are around me. My mom is my caddy, like my coaches, the people that support me. Like, I just have to keep on believing that, and showing up there on the LPGA with, kind of that confidence, not wondering like, hey, like, can I do this again? Just showing up there like, hey, like I'm ready for this.
Right, exactly. And I want to make a note too. You started out on the LPGA back in. I mean, you turned professional obviously in 2005. You got your card the very next season out for 2006. So going back, you're looking at several years ago. Do you think, given your age, there's a certain wisdom this time around that maybe you didn't have back then?
I think it's like you make a lot of mistakes and you learn from it. Hopefully,
right.
You won't do it again. And if you do make the same mistake again, then you know how to kind of get out of it quickly. I mean, golf is a hard game, and being a professional golfer is not an easy life, and it has ups and downs. So hopefully, we take notes on the mistakes that we made and adjust quickly if we're gonna make them again. And I think it's just like experience and just making a lot of mistakes and learning from it. To be honest, there's a lot of things that if I could go back to my career, to my younger self, to in a way be like, hey, don't do this, hey, do this, But it's easier now that I have all this perspective. So hopefully that's what's gonna help me become a better player here coming up.
Right. And I concur 100%. If I could do the same, I'd be beating Tiger Woods right now on the LPGA or on the PGA Tour. So, but obviously that's not going to happen. So let me ask you this: since you've already been out in the LPGA, and obviously I know there's changes sometimes with sponsors, so the tournament names sometimes get up, sort of a facelift, if you will. But you've been out on the LPGA Tour and played in many tournaments and that. Is there any specific tournaments that you've got your sights set on for next season?
I always, I actually love going down to Australia and playing, the sort of like the windy conditions with really tough courses. It fits my game really well, and I'm looking forward to the British. In the U.S., I guess I love going to the Kia Classic in Carlsbad. It's one of my favorite events. It's one of my favorite cities, and starting the season in Boca, that's exciting. It's close. I live in Orlando, so it's a short drive for me, and I have lots of friends in the area. So, to be honest, I'm just excited to be out there. I have a new appreciation of the buffet breakfasts and buffet lunches and. You miss all the stuff, getting your Titleist balls in your locker, not having to travel with them. There's a lot of perks of being out on the LPGA comparing to the Symetra, that's for sure, and I miss those perks.
Right. Well, and just to put things in perspective for people, really the Symetra is designed to sort of build your chops, if you will, or to earn your way to the big stage. If obviously if everything was made too easy along the way, then as you just pointed out, you wouldn't really learn from those experiences. So, it is a grind. It's very tough. People don't appreciate tour life, as you mentioned earlier. It's difficult out there. It's not all glitz and glamour. I mean, obviously, when you're winning and you're playing really well, the spotlight, as it is for some of the young ladies out there, kind of comes your way. But there's also a price too. I mean, when you're under the gun like that and you're not performing at your best, sometimes the golfing gods aren't always that kind to you. So, you have to find a balance out there. So let me ask you, what's your off season? I'm sure you're in an off season right now, and I'm sure you're going to be spending some time practicing for next season. But what do you do in your downtime? And then tell me who your biggest fan is, who your biggest supporter is.
Yeah, so I actually changed a little bit my approach last year, and in my off-season work, I always, kind of did hit the gym very hard, practice as much as I could, and not a lot of tournaments in the off-season, obviously. But last year, I decided to just change things up. I was getting a little bored and being at home all the time, and going to the gym, going to practice, just felt like, we're used to traveling most of the year, so it just felt like too much of a routine. And so last year I started to play some Egglands events, like in the off season. I played like 6 or 7, and then I would take a couple of days off after the event, and then I would work with my coach to figure out what is it that I need to do for the following event, and just kind of taking a little bit more of a kind of like see what's kind of going on in my game, adjust it, go back out, perform again, adjust it again, and it was kind of like just analyzing my game in tournament mode all the time, and that really helped me, like mentally. Just it's easier to get into the kind of like the mentality of like we're playing golf, instead of we're practicing golf swing, or we're getting stronger in the gym. It's different. Like at the end of the day, we do play golf for a living. So being too much time on the range and working on the routine and stuff, kind of just I was over it. So I'm gonna do the same thing here. I got a few tournaments coming up in November in LPGA International actually, and maybe one in December, and then in January I'm definitely gonna play a lot more, as many as I can, and just kind of what I do is I analyze what happened, what can I improve, and then kind of take that, work on that for a few days, and then kind of go back out and testing it again, and it's sort of like it's like a trial and error where he's like, oh, that did work or that didn't work, and it just feels like I'm constantly improving and constantly sharpening my game. So I really liked it. In terms of my biggest supporter is obviously my mom. She's been my caddy since I turned pro, and me and her have a great relationship. She helps me a lot, during, those kind of funky times on the golf course where I'm kind of down or I'm not feeling myself or I have doubts. She always knows the right thing to say, and, she's a great caddy in the wind. We do a great job. I guess my best results have been in like really, really windy, tough conditions. And, she's been there since day one. She's the reason why I play golf, and, she's the reason why I'm here, honestly, and it's just great that I get to share that with her.
I think that's fantastic, and it's interesting. There were a few that were on the show over the last year or so that one of their parents, more often than not, it was their father, but there were a couple of young ladies on the Symetra tour where their fathers, carried the bag for them, and it was interesting because that's a tough thing to do sometimes because, obviously you want the support and relationship with your parent, but having them be there week in, week out, on the bag is not an easy juggling thing because, now you're in control. You're the one that's out there. It's your, it's your livelihood, if you will. So sometimes, that parent has to take a step back and say, okay, it's not time to parent. It's time to be a support system for the player. It's not a mother-daughter or mother-father or a daughter-father, relationship. It's now a player and caddy relationship. So that's good that your mother knows that, but at the same time knows when to step in when she feels the timing's right. So that's a great relationship, and kudos to you for recognizing her in that role. What goals for 2020? Obviously, you're looking for a win out on the LPGA, but have you set yourself some specific goals for the season?
2020 is an Olympic year, so I definitely want to go back to the Olympics. I want to go back to Tokyo. I had the blessing of being the flag bearer for my country in Rio.
Oh wow!
And it was just like such a big deal, but 2016 was a really tough year for me. Like in my game, I didn't feel like my game was in a good place. I kind of felt like I was searching. So in terms of like the golf experience, I just have this like taste in my mouth that I want to perform better. So obviously it's a big year to qualify for the Olympics again. And I just want to go out there and just play my game and get some good results. I just want to go out there and really like just show up with my game, and see what I can do. If that means that I'm going to win, if that means I'm going to, have a top 10s, if that means I'm going to win a major, whatever that is, I just want to show up and actually like give myself a chance to perform the best I can. I think I'm more mature now, and I've been through, ups and downs as you can relate. And, You know, I'm just ready to just kind of enjoy the tour and just show up with my game and see what that means. You know, see how good that is. And I'm curious. You know, I look forward to kind of seeing what that is, kind of what that means. Kind of like with the same attitude when I showed up in 2016, when it's like, hey, this is my game, this is what I got, and what does that mean? You know, what does that give me? And I just want to go out there and perform like that again, like no expectation, just kind of really trusting what I'm doing and trusting my game, and then kind of, you know, collecting the checks and figure out what that means at the end of the year.
Yeah, I think that's some great wisdom, and you're exactly right, Julieta. I think that, you know, this experience, being out on tour before, and then humbling yourself, you know, having to go back to the Symetra Tour, I think gives you some great insight, and it helps to mature you along the way, and I think that's very, very important. Quick question: you mentioned about the Olympics, carrying the flag. When are you more nervous, playing in a round or carrying that flag?
You know, I thought that I wasn't gonna be nervous at all carrying the flag. I'm like, it's not a big deal. Like, it's not like I have to perform, right?
Right.
But the flag was really big, and that kind of freaked me out a little bit. It was super tall. I'm only 5'2", and the flag was humongous. And then once, like, you start walking out in this full stadium, you know, we don't have that kind of feeling, you know, of being in a stadium and all eyes are on you, and I was representing my whole country, and they picked me to represent, and it was just like all these emotions kind of just, you know, triple, and so I would say that was the most nerve-wracking. Definitely the first shot that I hit at the Olympics, I don't remember being that nervous in any round that I played before. So those two experiences definitely top just, you know, any kind of like tournament round or even final round pairing, final group pairing. I haven't felt as nervous as definitely carrying the flag in the first shot of the Olympics.
Yeah, that's understandable. A lot of young ladies say the same thing about playing on the Solheim Cup, you know, as opposed to being out in individual tournaments, because now they're part of a team experience and they don't want to let their fellow teammates down. So they kind of have that similar experience as opposed to playing just a regular tournament. Well, Julieta, I want to thank you very, very much for coming on this week. I've really enjoyed the conversation. You've given some great insight, some great tips, again, for many of our amateurs that are listening to the show, that I hope they'll take this lead, and whether they have aspirations of playing at your level or not, I hope that they have some great takeaway from our discussion. And good luck. And I hope I'm gonna hold you to it. I hope next season, if you get a win, that you'll come back and share that win with us on the show.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that would be great. I'm looking forward to it. Thank you so much for having me on the show. I enjoyed my time on here as well.
All right. Good luck, Julieta. All the best in the off season, and go knock 'em dead in 2020.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Have a good rest of the show.
All right. Bye-bye. All right. That was Julieta Granada, finishing in the number 6 spot on this Symetra Tour season for the Volvic race for the card. And she's going to do very, very well, I have no doubt. We're going to take a quick little break here, and then I will bring out our next guest, Esther Lee. I'll tell you a little bit about her and bring her on and talk about her journey as she prepares for next season's LPGA Tour season. As you've heard over the last month or so on the show, you know, Cindy, of course, does a great job in helping guide many of our executives out there into the world of golf. So here's a great promotional spot. Take a listen.
Everyone knows business deals are made on the golf course. Knowing how to act is just as important as how you hit it. As an LPGA professional and corporate trainer, I offer workshops, seminars, and executive retreats to teach you how to do both. From the back nine to the boardroom, improve your team from the inside out, or Golf 101 for executives might be the perfect fit for your team. Maybe it's time to make some deals on the course. For more information, go to cindymillerinc.com.
All right, and that's from our very own Cindy Miller. Go to cindymillerinc.com after the show, and you can connect with Cindy Miller if you're interested. And also, you can also find out, if you go to cindymillergolf.com, You'll find the link on there for her book, Golf 101 for Executives. If you'd like to get your hot little hands on a copy, go to cindymillergolf.com or reach out to Cindy at cindymillergolf.com and request a copy of the book. Also, you can go to Amazon and just search under Golf 101 for Executives. Cindy Miller, of course, the author. It's a great book, gives you all of the interesting little nuggets, if you will, on how to play your best golf and how it will help you in your executive life. So make sure you do that. All right, as I mentioned, we had two great ladies on the show. First up was, of course, as you heard, Julieta Granada. And the second guest, of course, that was going to be on last week is Esther Lee. She's been on the show before. Let me tell you a little bit about her, and then I'll bring her on the show. Esther is a 25, and she's a native of Los Alamitos, California. She spent her freshman year of college career at Duke University before transferring to the University of Colorado, and she was a two-time All-Pac-12 first-team selection. This past season, she had a total of 21 starts on the Symetra Tour in 2019, capturing 13 top 15s and a career best runner-up result at the Valley Forge Invitational to earn her the number 9 spot in the Volvic Race for the Card. So please welcome back our very special guest, Esther Lee. Good morning,
Hi,
Esther. Welcome to the show. How are you doing?
How are you guys today? I'm good. Thank you for having me.
I'm doing very well. I'm very happy. Just to let you know, I didn't mention it again, but I mentioned at the top of the show. Cindy's actually off for a couple of weeks, so you're just here with me, Ted. But I hope I will do my best to make it an interesting segment for you. All right. First off and foremost, as I mentioned to Julieta, congratulations on getting your Volvic Race for the Card number 9 spot. I know you worked very, very hard this season to do that. And what I want to ask you now, as I did with her, as you look back over 2019, give us an overall assessment of your season, how you feel it went, what areas do you think maybe needed some improvement that you're going to learn from as you move forward to next season on the LPGA?
Well, first of all, thank you. I was actually talking about this with my parents when the season ended, and we all kind of just realized that I wasn't really hitting my stride playing-wise until about 4 or 5 tournaments in. I always think, even in 2019 and even in 2018, I started off kind of not with my best golf for the first maybe quarter of the season.
Right.
And that's definitely an area that I'm looking to improve. I mean, as a rookie, I think everyone just wants to come out really hot out of the gate. But I think that's an area where I'm really going to focus, is making sure that when I start the season, I'm going to start off stronger than I did the last 2 years. But really, after I kind of found my groove, I was playing pretty consistent, solid golf for the rest of the year. I think a lot of that has to do with my putting and just hitting greens, just being able to hit greens. I think I hit a little bit more greens than I did last year, which gave me a lot more opportunities to make birdies. And I just look back at the season now, and I'm proud of myself for what I've accomplished. But I definitely see areas where I need to work on. I think.
Well, and you're exactly right. And just let me jump in here for just real quick. I think that really for somebody in your position and Julieta and many of the other young ladies out on tour, you're kind of in a constant assessment mode, I think, throughout your game. You're assessing every round. You're assessing almost every shot. And then, of course, as you just pointed out, at the end of the season, you're kind of looking back over the season. What did I do well? What didn't I do so well? Where does the improvement need to be made? And sometimes do you think that can overwhelm you to the point where you're kind of taking away from just going out there and enjoying the moment because you're constantly thinking about what do I need to do differently? I'm in the number 5 spot right now, in the tournaments, and what do I need to do to try to get to that number one spot? Do you think sometimes you can kind of paralyze yourself with a little bit too much assessment?
I mean, definitely, I do think that. I mean, we all play golf because we love it, but at the same time, it is our job. We're out there trying to do our best and to beat everyone, because at the end of the week, it's what we love, but it's also our job. And with the job, there's a paycheck involved. And I mean, golf, I think a lot of girls worry about that, especially on the Symmetra Tour, where the purses aren't as high, is that for some girls, it's I have to play well this week, or I might not be able to play in 2 weeks or 3 weeks.
Right.
Because just the money's not there. So yeah, I mean, a lot of girls, and myself included, will analyze what can I do better, what can I do to put myself in a better position. And I mean, I think I handled that kind of pressure better than I did last year. I definitely learned a lot in how and what kind of player I am and what kind of person I am and how much I can take on mentally and physically. But it sometimes overshadows the fun aspect of what we do. But I think that just kind of comes with the territory. And sometimes it is hard. It is hard to get it out of your head.
Yeah, and that's where the mental side, this is what we talked about so many times on the show here, Esther, is that, the mental side of the game far outweighs the physical. I mean, you girls are all phenomenal hitters of the ball. You can putt well, and obviously some weeks, that maybe falls a little short of what you'd like it to be, but, you're not there because you can't hit the golf ball or you can't make putts. You're there because you have the physical skill. Where it now becomes crucial as a player is how do you handle yourself? How do you handle your emotions? How do you handle the ups and downs? You guys had some long stretches this season, particularly out in the Symmetra. I think you had at one time 6, 7, maybe 8 tournaments in a row. That takes a lot out of you mentally, and not to mention physically, but mentally for sure. How did you handle moments like that during those long stretches when it's, I'm in, this is tournament number 5 in a row, and I'm tired, and, I'm maybe not getting as much sleep because I'm worried about my position or what have you, or I'm trying to, get my card for next year. When those thoughts start creeping into your mind, what do you do to sort of silence them, or do you take and use it to your advantage?
For me personally, at the beginning, I would do this thing where when I would get overwhelmed with how tired I was. I don't think I ever hit a point of where my body was so physically tired, but my mind, mentally, I was just done. When I would hit that point, I would just kind of take a day, usually maybe at the beginning of the week, where I would just put my phone on Do Not Disturb and just pick up a really good book or, binge watch TV, just something to take my mind off of golf and just relax. And also not try to do so much just to kind of recover physically as well. But, I mean, I would have to take a me day every once in a while. Just tell myself, you don't have to go to the course today. You can just relax. You can think about other things. You can talk to your parents. And then I would usually feel better after a day like that. But later on, towards the end of the season, I actually found myself kind of confronting my doubts more. If I was worried about where I was standing that week or on the money list, I would just tell myself, you've had a great season this far, to this point. and you did that because of your game and your skill, and there's no reason why you can't keep doing it. And so I would just kind of give myself these pep talks, and I would kind of embrace the worry and the doubt. And I think it's made me play almost better under pressure a little bit. So I kind of just faced it head on and internalized it and told myself, like, hey, you can do this. Like, it's not something you haven't done before, and it's not the last time you're going to be in this type of position, and you just have to trust yourself.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Very, very smart words of wisdom. So let me ask you, kind of staying on this theme with having long stretches of tournament play like that. Obviously, you're going to have that again this season when you go to the LPGA. Does that help your stamina having back-to-back tournaments? Because obviously, I know you can pick and choose what tournaments you're going to play in a little bit more, and obviously you're not going to be able to play every single tournament because you've got to have some downtime. But is that going to help your stamina from the physical standpoint, based on what you just said a moment ago? Do you feel better prepared for 2020 based on the knowledge that you've gained over the last couple of years?
I do. I mean, physically, that's not the part that I'm worried about. A lot of people, I don't think, realize most Symetra Tour events are only 3 days, and all but I think one on LPGA are 4 days. And that just one extra day of golf, of tournament golf. Physically, it is a little bit more draining, but mentally, it's a lot. One more day of that is a lot every week. So right now, we have a plan for off season to, physically get more in shape. So I have the stamina and the strength to play all 4 rounds every week, but also pacing, like trying to build up a little bit on the mental side of things to make sure I'm not burning myself out halfway through the season. But
yeah,
I think
go ahead.
I was just going to say that I think with this last year and the year before playing on Symetra Tour, I've come a very long way in both areas than before. And I feel prepared, but I also know that the LPGA, it's a whole nother level. And at the moment, I feel prepared. I feel like I can do this. And once I get out there, I'm sure there's going to be nerves, and I'll get nervous, and I'll have these little thoughts of, oh, wow, I'm, really here. But, I'm hoping when it comes to go time, I can just push that all aside and just play the game that I love and this position that I've worked towards for most of my life. So.
Yeah, and it's, as I was talking with Julieta a few moments ago, she said, the very same thing, that she's going out there obviously with an optimistic view. In her case, she'd actually been there before several years ago, so she's got a little bit of inside knowledge, if you will, of what it's like to be out on the LPGA Tour, and some of the ups and downs, and obviously some of the benefits in that. But she also talked about, and I want to ask you this as well, you mentioned a little bit some of the things that you're going to do as far as working in preparation for next season in your off season, but are you going to take some time off just for you? Instead of just one day here and there, are you going to take some time off and just say, you know what, forget the golf, I'm going to get together with my friends, my family, I'm going to have some fun, some me time, just to really enjoy and kind of recharge your batteries a little bit? Are you going to do that? And if so, what are some things have you got lined up?
I think definitely it's the past couple of weeks since I've gotten back from Florida, I haven't I mean, I've gone and played golf, 9 holes here, 18 holes there, but I haven't really practiced. So it's always me just showing up at the course and hitting a couple balls and then heading out to the course. So instead of just being on the putting green or chipping green, and maybe I'm playing like once or twice a week. But definitely I look forward to spending time and enjoying off season with family and friends. And I think during this Christmas season, we're having a family get together, a pretty big one. My immediate family and all my extended family are so excited for what's to come next year. So they all want to kind of get together and have a gathering and just kind of celebrate everything that's happened.
Mm-hmm.
And my friends, I mean, it was so nice to see them once I got back, because it's hard during the season to see everyone consistently, because sometimes you just never know when you're going to be home or if you're even going to have the time if you're home. And it's nice to just fall back into easy conversations and fun times with them. So I've been trying to spend as much time with them as I can and as they can, because they're all in their mid-20s and have real adult responsibilities as well. So,
right. Yeah, I think a lot of people misunderstand, and again, as I was mentioning earlier on the show, they see, players like yourself and Julieta and many of the others out there, and they see it as a life of glamour, and it's exciting. Wow, you get to play in all these, great golf tournaments, you're traveling and you're doing all this kind of stuff, but they don't realize really a couple of things. First off, it's a lot of hard work, as you can attest to. The traveling kind of gets old after a while, especially, when you're driving across the country, going to different tournament sites. And then also, it can be a little bit lonely, even though you make friends out on tour and you have some comrades, if you will, that you can share the experiences, but sometimes you long for, as you mentioned, just some regular adult conversation outside of the golf course. So I think a lot of people don't really understand that it's not all, upbeat and positive, that it can be a real grind out there for you guys. And so I think you have a whole new respect when you come home and you're able to just sort of let your hair down, so to speak, and just relax and be with friends, and sometimes just be quiet, not even have to get into a lot of conversation, but just sort of listen to everybody else's life, what's going on with their lives. Would that be pretty accurate?
Yeah, that's so funny you brought that up. I was having this exact conversation with one of my friends who he's a huge golf fan. And he was just going on about, like, your life is so great, like you get to do what you love. And of course I'm extremely grateful for having golf and
right.
being able to play golf for a living, but you're right, like people, unless they play a professional sport, they or competitively in college or even just at the highest level, it's just so hard for them to understand that this is hard. Like, it's not like it is in the movies. Like, it's not even anywhere close to being like that.
Right.
I mean, they don't realize. I mean, I think they understand how much work goes into it. They get that, but they just, without experiencing it, it's hard for them to grasp what that work actually, how much it amounts to. I mean, throughout high school, I remember my friends would invite me out and I would have to say no because I have to go practice or I have to go play a tournament. And then eventually they just stop asking because it's always the same answer. I'm sorry, I can't.
Right.
And I think as a teenager, I really struggled with that a lot. Like, why can't I? You know, but I mean, it's all for a greater purpose. I think any teenager that is really serious about playing golf or any sport competitively into college and after professionally, I want them to understand that there will be things you have to sacrifice, and there will be moments where you feel cut off from your friends because they're living a different life. But if it works out, it's 200% worth it in the end. And that's how I feel. Because once you've kind of established yourself, like all those relationships with your friends and family, like that'll keep going. And now you're more in a position where you can control your schedule and how much you practice because you got there. You're not working towards there. You're there. So it makes your life a little bit easier if you kind of stick it out.
Yeah, I would agree. Again, 100%. And just to sort of, add something to what you said a moment ago, I really don't think that a lot of people understand as much as we would like them to. I don't think they appreciate, just to give you an example, not to throw myself here, but, even doing the shows that I do this show Tuesday mornings with, Cindy and I normally, as I mentioned, she's off this week, but, and I also do a Thursday evening show as well. On top of that, I teach golf. And, to try and juggle your time to do all of these things, people ask me all the time, they don't realize what goes into putting these shows together. I mean, having you come on here, well, it's just easy, you get a guest coming on. Well, no, you have to prepare. You have to have questions lined up. You have to get a little background on the player and other things, and you have to coordinate the times and make sure everything falls in line. And then you have to go out and give, a half a dozen or a dozen lessons, each day, depending on what the schedule is. And by the end of the day, you're now getting ready for the next show. So, it's not exactly the same as what you're doing, but, I have passion about what I do. And you're right, sometimes you have to make sacrifices. Sometimes family or friends will say, hey, come on, let's go and do this. Well, I can't. I got to get ready for Thursday night show. And or I've got to get my lesson plans ready for the morning. So sometimes they don't appreciate or realize that if you want to do well at something, you've got to be willing to put some commitment in. And yeah, you have to find balance. Don't get me wrong. I don't just shut the world off, but you have to find balance. But you also have to be willing to put that hard work in, because otherwise you won't succeed at anything. And it just becomes to the point where you'll actually resent it because you're not doing that preparation. So hats off to you for doing that. So let's talk about 2020. Obviously, you're looking forward to getting out there and competing. What are some of your goals that you've set for next season out on tour, and what about off the course?
I see a lot of rookies, or I've seen a lot of rookies, get out their first year on tour. Some go the way I did through Symetra, or some just make it straight to tour. But I did notice that a lot of rookies, I don't think, play to their full potential the very first year. And I think that might be a little to do with nerves and being in an unfamiliar environment. So that is one thing I really wish I want to overcome, is I want to be able to play my best golf. And I think I keep telling myself the first year, just retain your card. And then after that, it's going to get not easier, but you're going to feel more free, because I see a lot of rookies go out and everyone has high hopes for them, and then they kind of lose their card. And being out there and then losing your card, it makes a big impact mentally. So that's kind of something I want to avoid. But my goal is to if I could just have the same exact season as this year on the LPGA next year, I think I would feel pretty accomplished, just being able to play consistent solid golf. So, I mean, of course, every player that makes it out to the LPGA for the first time is like, I want to win. I want to win this tournament or that tournament. But if we look at it realistically, I know, like, I understand that it is super competitive, and it's those girls out on tour are so good. And if the opportunity of where I'm in the lead or I'm chasing the lead, yes, I'm going to be excited and I'm taking it. But I'm not really going out there with you need to or you have to win every week, but more like a just don't make mistakes on the golf course and you'll be fine, because the birdies will drop. Mm-hmm. But a mistake out there, that's a bogey or a double or, God forbid, even worse. And that kind of really kills your game.
Yeah, that kind of sucks. I mean, let's just be blunt. It sucks when that happens. You know, Esther, I think that I can say this with confidence. I think you've got a good game plan, and you're right. I mean, obviously you're going out there with the intent that you want to win. I mean, obviously you're not going to play in a tournament without hoping that the birdies are going to drop and you know the stars are going to align or what have you. But you're also going there and realistic and saying, I know I need to go out there and play my best golf because I'm going to be competing with some players who've been out here for a number of years. They know the tournaments inside out. They know the golf courses inside out. You know, maybe in many cases better than you do. So it's a learning opportunity as well, because now you're going to get an opportunity to watch and see some of the best players in women's golf compete week in, week out, and you're going to be right there alongside of them. So obviously that's something to you know, have some pride and share in that experience. But it's also a learning experience as a rookie out on the LPGA Tour to learn from that. And you've obviously had opportunities over the last couple of years on the Symetra and obviously your collegiate career to learn from your mistakes. You know what, more and often not, what mistakes are going to happen. And you've learned from that. You learn to regroup, and you learn to not just the physical side of the game, but the mental side of the game. What do I need to do in a situation like this? Oh, yeah, I remember now back in that tournament, this is what happened. This is where I need to keep my focus. So, you know, there's a lot of experience now over these last couple of years that you're able to draw from. And obviously you have a good support group around you with your family and friends and obviously coaches and things like that to take with you. So you're really going as a team. You're not really going as an individual. The one thing I would say to you, and I think you already know this, and I think we mentioned this to you when you were on the show the last time, is I think that you have to go out and just have fun and don't put undue pressure on yourself. And I gave the same advice to Julieta that was on before you. I think that, you know, obviously you have certain expectations going out there. You want to win, as I mentioned, and you want to play your best golf. But don't forget to have fun along the way, because I think if you're not having fun, then it no longer becomes a passion. Then it becomes, and yes, I know it's a job, but then it just becomes a very routine, mundane, kind of boring thing. Go out and have some fun. Enjoy your experience. Enjoy your rookie season on the LPGA next year. And I have no doubt, win, lose, or draw, you're going to have a successful season.
Oh yeah, I told my parents I'm planning on having too much fun, but no, I'm looking forward to it. I mean, it's a new chapter of my life. It's a new adventure, and I'm looking at it with big, bright, fresh eyes. So hopefully, it's everything I've dreamed of, and even if it's not, it's still going to be a great experience.
Well, you've worked very, very hard, and you've done a great job over the last couple of seasons. We're very grateful to have you on the show, the times that you've been here, and I'm going to offer the same to you, and I want you to make me this promise. Even if you don't win next year, but if you win next year particularly, I want you to come back and share that experience with us here on the Women of Golf Show. I hope you'll take that opportunity.
Oh, yes, most definitely.
All right. Well, Esther, again, congratulations on earning your card out to the LPGA. I want to wish you all the success, and I want you to go out and have a great experience, have fun, and just enjoy it. And just keep getting those birdies to drop, and I have no hesitation in saying you'll win.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your time today and for allowing me to come out on the show.
Well, I appreciate it as well. Yeah, and you go and have get a good book, take some time on this off season. Obviously, I know you've got to prepare for next season. That is going to be in the forefront too. But don't forget to take some time and just have some fun in your off season. Enjoy it. Kindle those friendships, and obviously you've got some exciting times coming up here during the holidays to spend with family. So enjoy those moments as well. But just go out and like I said, have fun, and I guarantee it, success will follow you very quickly.
I will. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Esther. God bless, and have a great week. And we look forward to watching your career with great anticipation.
Thank you for having me this morning. All right.
All right. Bye-bye. All right. That was Esther Lee, formerly a Symetra Tour player, now an LPGA player. She is going out there and going to give it her best, and we want to wish all of the graduates this season from the Symetra Tour who earn their card and that are heading out to bigger and better things next year in the 2020 LPGA season. So good luck to Julieta and Esther particularly. Thank you, ladies, for joining me this morning here on the Women of Golf Show. Don't forget, next week I will be joined by Mike Nichols, the Chief Business Officer of the Symetra Tour. He's going to come here and help wrap up the 2019 season out of the Symetra Tour, give us some updates on things to come and a whole bunch of other things. So I hope you'll come back and join me next week. On that note, thank you on behalf of my co-host, Cindy Miller, and myself. I'm Ted Odorico. Thank you for listening to the Women of Golf Show. God bless everybody, and have a great week.
Thanks for listening this morning to the Women of Golf Show. Tune in live each week by visiting blogtalkradio.com/Women of Golf or on any of these social media platforms: iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn, CastBox, TalkStream Live, and of course Spotify. If you can't join us live, check out our on-demand section for previously aired broadcasts. To get updates for future shows and upcoming guests, you can follow us on Facebook at Women of Golf. You can also follow me on Twitter at TedandBuckCEO and Cindy at Cindy Miller Golf. Please remember to join us next week on the Women of Golf Show. See you next time. This has been a production of the iGolf Sports Network.